Upgrade your shit.
Coach RT3.
And I'm Not a What?
And we're the Upgrade Guys. Welcome to this episode of the Upgrade Your Shit podcast. We are on Spotify, YouTube, if you want to look at us while you're listening. And we're on Apple. You can check us out on Instagram at The Upgrade Guys. You can also find our site, theupgradeguys.com, for all your mobility needs. We got a membership there. We got tons of classes, and it's constantly growing. So, our goal is to make sure your return on investment is high. But today, we're excited to have our brother from Switzerland, KSwiss, Kevin. Let them know who you are.
What up, team? Thank you for having me on the podcast. So my name is Kevin. I think I should introduce myself, right? Kevin, aka KSwiss. That's my nickname. When I lived in New York, my boys called me KSwiss because of Kevin, and obviously I'm from Switzerland. So that was the easiest nickname, I guess. And, I just added the fit because of fitness, obviously. And that's it. I'm a coach. I live in Switzerland. I'm currently in Geneva. And we be sniping clowns together.
All day, baby.
Yeah, I already know.
So how did you get into fitness in general?
Wow. It's been a long journey. I was a former athlete. MMA fighter. I mean, a fighter in general. I started off with boxing when I was 12 years old. Practiced for a few years. Boxing is still has always been my first love. Then moved on to Muay Thai. Practiced for a few years as well. And finally, I ended up doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and MMA. So that's what I practiced the most, I would say. And I was doing it just for the love, for the passion, and because that's like I said, that's something I've always enjoyed doing. And a few years later, I realized that it made no sense for me to keep getting punched in the face. I was training 3 times a day. It was a huge investment, but there was no return. There was no real return on investment, at least here in Switzerland. I was traveling a lot all over Europe. I fought in, different countries, but, I just thought that, it wasn't my path. I wanted to do something else. And then I moved to New York. So I was based in Geneva. And I decided to go to New York because New York was the city of my dreams. So for some reason, I just wanted to go there. I think it was because of hip hop, to be honest with you. It was I've always been a hip hop fan, and I was like, okay, let me just go out there. So I think I moved to New York when I was 20, and that's where I really started my fitness journey, I would say. So before I was the athlete, but that's when I started getting educated about fitness and learning more about what fitness was. I met my fitness mentor in New York, my guy AB. Shout out to AB if you listen to this. And he's kind of the one that introduced me to the real what being a coach meant. It wasn't just about just having people do a workout and stuff like that. So he really kind of introduced those values to me, what it meant to be a good coach. And, I've been representing the team since then. And I've learned a lot from these guys. I've had a lot of good mentors. I was just, a hungry kid. I was new in the States. I just wanted to learn from people in the States because it's a different culture as well. You guys in the States have the real this real culture about sports and fitness in general. So I thought that I had a lot of stuff to learn from you. So that's why I was just knocking at the doors. I was this hungry kid from Europe, and I was like, "Hey, I wanna learn from you. I heard you were the best coach in town. I want to learn from you." Guys are looking at me like, who's this kid? I was just hungry. I just wanted to learn, and that's kind of how it started. And I decided to make it into a real career and not just a side hustle.
Mm.
And I think that's why I fuck with you guys, because I appreciate your message, and I see the value in the message you guys are sharing on, at least on this the social media platforms.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah, no
Yeah, no
doubt.
doubt.
Hey, so what years were you out in New York?
What years?
Yeah.
Oh God, it was wow. If you hear fireworks, it's Switzerland. Don't worry, don't freak out. It's not the hood. It's a national day today, so it's fireworks. I don't know if you can hear that. Or even me, I was like, fuck it. I moved there. I think it was 8 years ago, 7 years ago. I stayed out there for a few years. Then I was moving back and forth. Then I came back to Switzerland. I came back to Switzerland. When was it? I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. My timeline is kind of messed up, but 3 to 4 years ago, because I had a business opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine reached out to me and he said, "Hey, he wanted to open a gym." I was like, "Okay, I'm down." And then I came back to Switzerland to open the gym, and that's kind of what brought me back to Europe, even though I wanted to stay in the States.
Nice.
What was it like for you coming from Switzerland to America, though, in terms of just, I know, I should ask this. Racism is a big thing in America, and at this point, I think everybody is now aware of it. But, like, how was that transition for you from where you lived to when you came to the States?
In terms of what? In terms of racism, you said, or?
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because in the States you have this community system that we don't have out here, right? So when you look at my group of friends here, um, we are from different backgrounds, different colors, different ethnicities, and when I moved to the States, it was the first thing that kind of stood out. I was like, okay, this is uh, you only hang out with your people, kind of. All right, you live with your people, and that's kind of how it works. And it was very different from where I lived, or where I'm currently living, because here in Geneva, it's an international city, and it's funny because I don't know a lot of real, quote unquote, real Swiss people. It's a city with a lot of immigrants, just like the States. For me, I mean, everyone's an immigrant if you're not a Native American, right? So, so it was just different to see that I had to choose a specific ethnicity. So when I moved to the States, and I went to, because the idea when I moved to the States first was to finish my degree in business. And I had to fill out those forms, and they said, in your forms you have the ethnicity boxes, so you have to choose, okay, are you black, are you Hispanic, are you white? And I'm from a I'm mixed race, and my last name is Portuguese because my father is Portuguese. So people thought I was Spanish. I was Hispanic, should I say? But I'm not. So people would look at me and say, "Hey, just choose Hispanic." But I'm like, "Okay, I'm not Hispanic." And then, okay, just then
Black.
choose black or white. And I'm like, "But I'm not. What am I supposed to choose?" Oh, okay, just choose other, right? And yeah, I remember the first time it happened to me. I was like, okay, that's interesting. There's something that we don't have. That's something we don't experience out here in Europe, at least. So I don't know what you guys think about it, because you guys grew up in this system.
I mean, if I had seen you in New York, I'd have been like, yo, he's probably Puerto Rican.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Plus, I was
like-
living in a Hispanic neighborhood, so
Right. Right.
you
So
bet I was speaking Spanish every day out there.
I mean, when you think about it, I guess like, what are Puerto Rican or brown South Americans, Brazilian, like they're like a mixture of Portuguese and
And black
African, yeah,
and
black. So
Africans. Yeah,
like the output phenotypically is going to be similar, right? But where you identify from as far as like your nation is going to be one thing, but I think what you identify is like outwardly is like I think if you're mixed race and you know you're mixed race, like you have this debate of like, you know, how do I represent myself to the world? But at the same time, oftentimes like you're never like good enough, I think, for both for either side, right? Like the white people are like, you're not one of us. And then the
yeah,
black people are like, you're not all the way us, but we'll take you in. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Because at the end
exactly.
of the day, in the US at least, at the end of the
Hmm.
day, you're just judged by whether you're brown or not, you know.
Exactly.
So
Y- mm. So yeah, I mean, I've experienced that. Uh, I would say that in the states or in South America, I'm black. They don't really make a difference. Sometimes they can, but they'll say you're black unless you, like you said in New York, they like to make this distinction saying that you are Hispanic, but for me you're just black, right? So you have if you look at the your ancestors,
right.
you just right mixed race as well. So um I mean, it's goddamn fireworks freaking me out of here. What was it saying? I lost my train of thought.
You were saying
Shit. Go ahead, Rich.
you were saying that in the U.S. Or in South America or whatever you're considered, you know, black,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah. So you considered black, right? So here, but like you said, you never, you always have to kind of choose, and sometimes they accept you, sometimes they don't accept you. So, for instance, when I go to Africa, I'm white, right? I'm white until they are, they dealing with a real white person, and then they still make that difference. Oh, but you're not white like this white,
right.
like he's the real white, and that's kind of fucked up. And yeah, exactly. So it's when they want you, they want you, so there's like, okay, I'll take you in. If not, well, one of us. So yeah, it's kind of a complex situation, but I mean, I know, Rich, that you have two kids, right? The mixed race.
Yeah.
How do you approach that with your kids?
Well, I pretty much want them to embrace everything that they are, you know, because um, you know, I think one of the things that I've been trying to make sure that, you know, my wife is like really adamant about the fact that they should know their history and their culture. And I agree. Like, you know, there's strength to be found in your origins and your origin story. And, you know, their grandfather is Indian, like 100, like his family's from India, you know what I'm saying? And then like uh their grandmother is Malay, you know, and but her ancestry even is like Malaysian, but also like her father came from like Sumatra area or Indonesia, like sort of area. So they have like this variety of ethnicities, and when it comes to me, all they can ever say is black, right? Black American, because even though my history kind of um, even though the history of black people does not start with slavery, my history has no choice but to start with slavery because we don't have any information beyond that. Like we don't even have any information that stems into slavery because we lost all of that. Like, you know, either by ancestors not wanting to talk about it or whatever the case is, it just didn't get passed along.
Right.
So a lot of black people like myself, obviously, if you look at my complexion, you can tell that at some stage there is some mixing going on within my
Mhm.
within my you know genetics and DNA. But a lot of black people always try to like say, well, like, look, I'm like, you know, I got Indian or I've got this or I've got, you know, some white. But to me, I've always been like, well, we know that like my great great grandmother was like mixed race, white, but we don't know the circumstances. And it most likely did not she did not come into this world out of a place of love. You know, it was most likely out of a place of her uh, mother being taken advantage of, raped, you know.
Right.
So like when you think about that trauma and you think about like what that does to a whole community, is different than your outlook and experience as having two parents that like gave you life out of the passion they have for each other, you know. So it's complex, like you said.
Yo, I know it. I know it is. I know it is. And I've been following you on social media, and I appreciate what you say, and um, your integrity when it comes to that, because like you say, the first thing people see when they see you is a black man, so you can't hide that, right? So this is why you're constantly sharing your message, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. uh Yo, so when you like you grew up in Switzerland, came to New
Hmm.
York, went
Hmm.
back, what would you say was like the big like difference when you got back to Switzerland as far as like what people were doing in the fitness realm, or you know, and how has
Oh
that
God.
changed over the next, and how has that changed since you've been back?
So here's the thing, man. In Europe, we are literally 10 years behind, especially when it comes to the fitness industry. Right? Or I would say the fitness industry, because in other areas, I would say that we are 10 years ahead. But
Agreed.
right. But yeah, when it comes to the fitness industry, at least French speaking countries, because they don't have access to the English literature,
Mm,
we are literally, I mean, literally 8 to 10 years behind,
mm,
right? One thing that you have to know is that French speakers are really bad at English.
mm.
They're really bad at speaking any other language. They don't want to learn. They don't make the effort.
I
That's a
can't
general
speak on that
statement.
because we're Americans. We like for
Right, right. I would
Americans.
say, yeah, right. Right.
Woo!
That's right. But that being said, French speakers, that's the biggest problem, I would say. So we don't really have access to the information right away, right? When you think of the entire process, when you study something, or then you have to you have to translate it, and then you have to teach it. And so there is a huge gap between when something new comes out in the States until the time it gets taught here in French speaking countries, right? So when I came back to Switzerland, it was like I just came with a lot of new modalities and new stuff, new knowledge that people simply don't have access to. So for me, it's just ridiculous to see the stuff that is being, taught here in schools, PT schools. I'm frustrated almost, and unfortunately, is caused by the language barrier, I would say. So I mean, which is good for me, and I get to have access to new stuff. They don't. So it's a good thing, when you think of the FRS system. I've been a part of the system for many years now, and I'm sure, I'm positive about that, that I was the first French speaking instructor for sure,
Hmm.
and the first kin stretch instructor in Europe. I think there was four instructors in London, but besides that, I was the first one. So it's a good thing, I got access to more knowledge, and I get to bring it back the French, to French speakers. That's also why I decided to switch to French on my social media platforms,
Yeah,
because I felt like there was a need to share that knowledge with more people, and knowing that there was already a lot of good stuff being published by you guys and other people, when it comes to the English community, right? So that's kind of what happened.
yeah. I was literally like, "Yo, he's posting French stuff. I don't know what he's saying. I guess I just like this because I just previous, you know, knowing you, knowing your previous English content. I'm like, well, it must be good. So I'm just
I
gonna like
appreciate
this.
that, man. I appreciate that.
Real shit. Real shit. I be like, what is Kev saying? I don't know what the fuck he's saying. That shit sounds smooth as hell. That shit like sounds like some player shit, but I'ma like it because I trust Kev. Like I really trust Kev. I'm just hit like I know what's going on with him, bro. I know what's up with him.
I appreciate your support. You appreciate your support. But when it comes to mocking clowns, I try to make sure to keep it international. So I keep it international, English, so that everybody can listen and everybody can read. Because we got
That you doing God's work. You doing God's work, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that video, we're gonna post it on our channel. I might try to like sneak it in here on the side just so you can
Which
in
one?
between. The one
You got some good
where
ones.
he was like assessment assess
Oh yeah.
speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish.
My name is Kevin. Hey, nice to meet you. My name is KSwiss. Well, CPT stands for Certified Personal Trainer. SC stands for Strength and Conditioning Coach. That's my background. SC, strength what? Nah, shirtless coach. Because I'm a trained shirtless, baby. Isn't it what you want? So for the first session, I need to take you through a full body assessment. Assess? I don't speak Spanish. Is that Spanish? I don't speak Spanish. In order to collect as much information as possible about your body, we don't need that. Listen, I know my shit so that I can make the most accurate decisions when designing your program. We don't need that. Trust me, we don't need that. No, but
That was a good one. They all good.
Yeah, but fam, I think it was just a new way for me to get my point across, right? I didn't want to sound frustrated because that's kind of what I was doing before. But people don't really listen to you if they feel like you're angry all the time, which I am. I really want to punch people in the face, and that's something I know how to do, pretty well, I would say, and I've been doing for my entire life. So don't worry, I could punch you in the face. But the problem is social media, right? I can't do it, and people feel way too comfortable on social media. So I would say, okay, you know what? Let me change something so that people will just get the message and maybe laugh, because it's always easier to listen to someone who's making you laugh. So that's that was kind of my approach. And at the end of the day, there are too many clowns, man. We can't win this one.
We're
outnumbered.
We're
fucking outnumbered.
Yeah, fam. Forget about it.
We gotta keep the fight up though. We gonna keep fighting. Our numbers will grow.
Yo, I know, fam. We gotta talk about the split squad guy. I know we're not done with this.
Go for it. Do it, bro. Do it.
Go in.
We gotta talk about this guy. I don't know. You guys start with what was the latest feedbacks about this chat that you had with this dude.
This is the thing. People think that I just made that post just to make it, right? But in reality, I had 3 people message me now who somehow had worked with him or interacted with him, and he gave them that same advice. Basically, like, I guess they were dealing with an ankle mobility issue, and he just had them do split squats or calf raises. That's all. He didn't ask any questions. He just said, do this. And it had resulted in them having worse pain, and like one of them had to go to a physio. Anyways, so it made me think like, well, people just out here taking wholesale information. Let me insert one thing in. Like, hey, this might work. Split squats might work for you or whatever, but it's not the only answer. The idea that, hey, Kev has an ankle restriction, Rich has an ankle restriction, I have ankle restriction, we should all just do split squats to fix them, is misguided. And it can be dangerous, or it can take away from somebody's quality of life, as I've witnessed. So I made the post, like, hey, if you have an ankle, like, this is not the thing that's going to give you ankle mobility if you have, like, a true ankle problem, right? Like, if you had access to that range before and you've somehow, like, experienced it and like movement can emerge from accessing that range, then that might work for you. But if you have something else going on, or like a true restriction, or like some tissue issue, or like some joint problem, doing split squats is not the approach. And it's misguided for us to just wholesale say, hey, do this for this thing. We didn't find out what was going on. We didn't figure out what that joint needed. We just wholesale said, go do this. But the problem is like, when you think you're smart, but you're just really fucking stupid, and you don't understand the most fucking basic things about training, like, it makes no sense to you. And when you talk about nuance but don't even understand what the fuck nuance is, it's like argue with a fucking dumb motherfucker.
This guy, I love him. Yo, but you know what? I watched the debate, and you killed it. You killed it.
Question.
Yeah, for sure. And to me, everything he was saying made no fucking sense
At all.
at all. Yo, that was crazy. But oh yeah, we need to break this down for people, okay? Because what this guy was saying was wrong on so many levels, okay? So
Hmm.
I think for people it's easier to use common sense because sometimes they might get lost when we use a lot of technical terms
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
and stuff like that. So, um, okay, so if you think about it as from an investment standpoint, right? Because people can understand that, right? What an investment is. At least I hope so. So you look at it from an investor standpoint. So you have two companies, right? You want to be a shareholder. You have one company, let's call it the joint specific training, right? And you have the other company, let's call it the fucking split squad company, right? And now I'm telling you, okay, if you invest in the joint specific training company, you will get 100% return on your investment plus profit, right?
Hmm.
Then when you look at the other company, you look at the analysis, you look at the data, and there's a 50% chance that you might lose everything because this is basically what the guy said. It's like, okay, yes, it could work, but it could also not work, right? So
Yeah.
when you think about it from an investment standpoint, you got to be fucking stupid to take that route to invest in that company, right?
Right.
Because could think
Yeah.
about it, right?
Agreed.
It's just fucking common sense. And what this guy is
Yeah.
trying to sell is time, right? You're going to save time. You're going to spend less time. And what I always tell to my clients is when you hear someone say that, you should ask yourself this question: in less time, compared to what, right? Compared to fucking
Mm.
what? And
Right.
and
Mm.
and when you think about it, is it just makes no sense. Like I said, it's wrong on so many levels. When you think about the his how should I call it, the scalability method, when he tries to
Yeah.
Yeah.
scale the exercise,
Right.
when you ask him and say, okay, what do you do if the person can't do it?
Right.
And this is, I think this is a common mistake in the strength and conditioning world, I would say. Um, because people only look at one variable being the intensity variable, right?
Mm.
So they're trying to manipulate the intensity being the load for those that don't know,
Mm.
right? So what he said is like, okay, if the person can't do a split squat from the floor, you elevate the front foot, right? The front leg. So you
Hmm.
do a front foot elevated split squat, which is the normal regression. Listen, I was a Polyquin student too, so I know all this shit. He's the one who introduced this exercise. Probably, I don't remember exactly, but
20 years ago.
yeah, maybe yeah. He was also saying a bunch of dumb shit. Okay, a bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
good shit, but a bunch of dumb shit. So, but once again, coming back to common sense, and if you know a little bit about training, this guy is saying, okay, you just manipulate the load you place on the front leg by elevating the front foot. And then when you think about it, it's like, okay, but you're not looking at the big picture. And this is what we're saying. This is the message we promoting on social media. It's not only about the intensity, right? And this is what the strength and conditioning world is doing wrong, I think, nowadays, because um, if you only look at the intensity in this example, you are not looking at the range of motion, the prerequisites, the capacity of your joints. And this is what exactly what we're saying. And it, the common thought in the strength and conditioning world is say, okay, let's use an example. You do ring rows, right? Okay, you have the capacity to do the ring rows. You go through different regressions and progressions, right? But the only regressions and progressions are based upon um, the intensity, right? So you say, okay, I'm just going to add more load. I'm going to make it more intense. Cool. So at some point, you know how to do perfect ring rows. The common thought process is, okay, now we're going to do pull-ups because you have the strength to do ring rows, thinking that the only limiting factor is the intensity. And this is what people
Hmm.
think. But what about your range of motion? And this is what we're
Right.
saying.
Right.
Maybe you don't have the shoulder to do pull-ups. So you have the
Hmm.
strength to do ring rows, but you don't have the range of motion to do pull-ups. And this is
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
we're saying. And the same thing with the split squat. And I would argue that by doing a front foot elevated split squat, you are actually changing you are making it more difficult for someone that doesn't have a hip.
Hip extension on the backside.
Exactly. You might need more hip extension on the backside. You might need more hip flexion on the front side.
Yep.
Right. And you're still pushing your ankle to the end range of motion.
Right.
And you are assuming that we all have the same restrictions, the same limitations.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So there's just layers to shit, and this is what people don't understand.
Assess.
Assess.
Is that Spanish?
You didn't do an assessment. I mean, I've talked. I'm glad they haven't come onto my page. With all this stuff, like I've gotten to the point now where I'm just like block, delete. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I don't got time for this. Like I got a business to operate and income to make and feed my family. We're in the time of COVID, right? So arguing with stupid people is just not worth. It's not a high return on investment.
Exactly.
Speaking of investments, but I'm speaking outwardly, right? Like so I'm putting education out. Like so I don't. Like if you have input that's going to bolster that or going to improve that, then great. But if you have something that's going to try to detract from that, like I'm not here. It's just like the race and racism conversation. I'm not here to help you understand that. Like you need to go out and do the work to understand that. If I put out a statement or whatever, and you're like, I don't agree with that, and well, you need to go find out more. You need to go find out what I'm talking about before we can even have a discussion. If you haven't even taken any of the coursework that I've taken or done any of the stuff that I've done, yet you're talking about it as if you know, then you're not. Then we're speaking two different languages, and global versus local. We talk about that all the time. Like what you're saying is like you basically saying like I have a global company, a global movement company, and I have a specific movement company, a local movement company. And I've illustrated this in multiple posts where I've said, hey, look, if you want to do global things, like let's take the United States, for example, you want to make something happen in the United States on the federal level, on the whole level. That's cool and all. Like you can throw it out there. Like for example, we did the Affordable Care Act, and we might be talking over like you guys' heads as far as like people in Switzerland, but Obama, they called it Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. That was a global act, right? That was an act that was pushed out at the federal level that says, hey, all you states need to do this, right? As a global thing. Now, from state to state, how you implement it is up to the state, right? So you've got a Democratic state who is like, we're going to make, because we like what president put forward. You got a Democratic state who may be trying to work extra hard to make this thing work well. But then you have a Republican state that's like, nah, fuck that. We didn't like Obama. We don't like, this plan. So we're not going to even do the work at the state level to make it work well, right? So you're talking about the local level. So you have this global plan that you want to execute, like a squat. But then you have a knee that's like, I don't like your idea of doing the squat. Meanwhile, you have an ankle that's like, well, yeah, I like that idea. So I have the range and capacity to do that. But if you don't have the need to do it, it's not going to work well, right? It's not going to function. So I think like that dude's argument, and we've wasted a lot of time on that dude anyway.
So I just want to point out, right, like, because you know how I get down with people. You know how I talk to people. You know how I serve a motherfucker. So, like, let's just be clear. Like, when I was having that discussion with him, like, what's the right word, Rich? Like, racial atmosphere or fear or, like, what was going on in America. I'm trying to be very cognizant of that, right? So I wanted to communicate with this individual in a way that didn't sort of further any other type of, like, preconceived notions about race or anything like that. It was really difficult. And it was really difficult for me because, one, like, it's my perception that he's just out here trying to get attention to make money, because, like, you can't seriously be this fucking stupid, can you? Like, you can't seriously be this fucking stupid. And even throughout the debate, I hesitate to even call it that, like, he was saying things that, like, like literally he was lying in the thing, and I could have just pointed it out. Like when he was talking about his fucking, what was it, the straddle thing, whatever, and he's like, oh yeah, so I tested it this, and then I was like, well, how long did it take? He's like, oh, I didn't keep track. So you didn't fucking test it then. You just making shit up. Or you said you dealt with this person who had this injury and you're doing this, and he's looking at his girlfriend like, oh, what was her name again? You guys don't remember your people's injuries? Like, what kind of fucking trainers are you? And then in a podcast, I even heard them say like, oh yeah, we decided to go online because like, you know, the people that do what we do, they're just not here where we're at. Read between the lines means you ain't had no fucking clients, you dumbass. Like, I'm not stupid. I did my homework, dummy. Fuck out of here.
That's what I said to Rich when we spoke about it. I said, it seems like this dude never trained anyone face to face.
That's what it feels like, right?
That's what it feels like. I literally work with people. If you think, dude, I work with people sometimes I don't even know where to start, you know, because
for real. Shit show.
For real. You don't even know where to start. And if you think in exercises, because this is what people do, right? Dude, I work with people that can't do a push-up. I don't care. You can come up with all the variations, regressions in the world. They can't do a push-up. They can't do any pulling exercises. They can't do squats. They can't do split squats. And I'm not saying from my standards, right? They don't have what it takes. They can't because they are in pain and they can't move.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So if you've worked with real people in real life, shit is different. You can't have them do split squats and I don't know what this guy does. But you know what? I was actually following him in the beginning. I mean, his message has changed a lot over the few months that, when I was following him. And that's another problem, right? Because empirical evidence is good, but it's not good enough to generalize. Right? And you have to question your own results. Whenever I achieve something, I always question and I say, okay, because I don't want to, have any biases and say, okay, my method was the right way of doing it. And if I do it with everyone, it's going to work because it just doesn't work that way. Right. No. So I'm constantly questioning what I do. And I agree with him that, you don't have to wait on new research papers because your thoughts your thoughts precede the research, and you can run your own research because this is what we do with our clients. We try a strategy and then we see, okay, we have a conclusion and then we modify if we have to, right? But what pisses me off with his approach, and I might be guilty of this sometimes with other systems, but it took me years to really understand the FRS system.
Yes.
Really, years. And every time I hear Spinner talk or Achievers talk, I'm like, oh God, I forgot about that. So these guys are very smart. We are learning from very smart people. And what I say about this system is that they didn't really teach me anything new, but they helped me connect the dots. Yes. So we studied different things, and the FRS system allows you to connect the dots and know exactly where you should start.
Right.
And this is the beauty of the system. I don't know what you guys think about that. But.
No, I completely agree. That's 100% on point for me. That's exactly what I would have fucking said. Shit. But not with the smooth accent, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think we had that conversation in our podcast with
maybe. Oh no, we did. And Rich and I have had that conversation several times.
And then Moses had that conversation of like,
and now you.
It's nothing. There's not new information. It's just the way it's been systemized and packaged, and you get arguments. I get arguments from people who have like been like, oh well, I've done PNF for years, and I'm like, yo, like I have no time to be dealing in those realms, because those realms don't give me they don't give you a starting point, and they don't give you a way to connect the dots in such a way that can guide people along a path or give you a strategy, for testing, a strategy for moving from here to there and saying, okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's try this move here. And I think just taking an overall perspective of looking at the body as something that is a sum of parts, as opposed to this idea that it's that it's not. You should just go out and jump and crawl and do all this stuff and it'll all get better. Like that's not how you return to the place that you need to be as a human being, is to just do the thing, because you've not been doing the thing for so long. How can you just say, okay, just do the thing, jam your shit in there like that and see what
Yeah.
happens?
You know what? I don't even believe them when they say, "Oh, I've been doing this and that and it works." It doesn't fucking work. You know how I know? Because people pay me, because your shit doesn't work. So I know
Real
it doesn't
shit.
work. No, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't work. And you know what? I did a manual therapy school, and that was cool because I got access to more information than just being a trainer. This is actually how I met Moses, because we took the FR course together back then, and it wasn't. I think now they opened it for trainers, and since I had this manual therapy background, I was like, okay, let me take it. Even though I'm more on the training side of things, and you know what? I started digging deeper into the FRS system, because what Andrea Spina was saying just made sense to me, and because I started questioning all the protocols that I was taught. So when people came to me and say, "Okay, you have back pain, you have to hold the plank," okay, I realized that it wasn't fucking working. So that's why I started questioning shit, and I was like, "Okay, it is not working." So you're not telling me that your shit is working, because we've been doing the same things and we have been using the same protocols. So what I reproach to our fellow practitioners is that they are not questioning what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I
100%.
feel like if you're a good trainer, therapist, you name it, you have to constantly be questioning what you're doing. I am constantly
Absolutely.
doing it. I don't know how you guys design your programs, but I'm constantly questioning myself. Okay, is this the right thing to do? Is it
Every
right?
step.
Does it make sense? Every
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't believe them when they say, "Oh, you know what? It has been working for me." I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think that it's so far behind it. It doesn't work.
This is the thing, like the way you're saying, right? So motherfuckers think like we're cocky. It's not that I'm cocky. It's just that I question myself so fucking much. Like Rich will tell you, because he knows me. Like the way my brain works, it's just fucking like it never fucking stops, and it's just like always like looking for things, smallest details, smaller details, smaller details. So I'm constantly questioning myself. I'm constantly asking people smarter than me shit. Like. And so like when you question yourself to that degree, and then when you start running your fucking mouth, like that shit just come out like autopilot, right? Because if you spent and like the thing is, I spend my life there. I never assume I'm right. I assume I'm wrong about everything first, even something that I've done 1,000 times, right? Every time I teach a car, every time I assess a joint, anytime I plan to program somebody, it's always the same fucking thing. Where am I wrong? How can this be wrong? If it was right, like what could be influencing my perception that it is right? Like the shit is like they don't get it. Like I'm not just assuming that I know what I'm doing and I'm blindly believing something. I've tried to prove FRS wrong since I fucking went to FRC the first time, and I just like I haven't been able to fucking disprove it yet. So like but everything else that I've done before, I've been able to disprove. And like you said, because I related before, like I went and did all the other things too. I read and took all that shit. I tried all that shit, and it didn't fucking work. It always left me lacking, and always left me feeling a little, at least somewhat helpless. And this thought process, like it gives me tools to figure shit out that I don't get. So
Yeah, it's worked on my body. Like, I mean, joint pain, shoulder not, being in pain. I mean, I tell people this story all the time because it informs the way in which I see everything, now as a coach, because like I literally came back saying I've been doing this shit all wrong. And all these other programs and all these other things that I learned approach the human body as a global thing. Like we can change this if we do this global thing to it. And it never got local enough for me. Now, it's true. Sometimes you just need strength, right? We all know that. But you can't make that determinant without an assessment first. So like you can't start loading and saying like, oh, you just needed some strength here until you've said like, oh, does your thing actually do what it's supposed to do? And so, me, most people know that I swing the mace, and like I had shoulder shit going on, and I'm swinging this mace, which is a global movement, and I've got shoulder pain going on. And after FRC, I had to take a huge step back. Like, whoa, hold on, I'm doing something. There's something I'm not doing right, right? And the first thing is like address your freaking problem. you know, you as much as you want to keep adding load, you want to keep doing the thing you love. Like if you don't address the issues that you have, the limitations that you have, then you're just building on a shaky foundation in the first place. So I don't even put maces in people's hands. People ask me all the time. I get DMs. Oh, where should I start swinging the mace? Or I'm going to buy a mace. And I'm like, you should start with an assessment. Like somebody needs to assess whether your stuff works the way it's supposed to, because you're just going to throw that tool in your hand and start going, and you don't know the outcome.
Definitely. And I think, I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of assessment you use. This is just for the audience, I guess, for the listeners. Uh, if you work with a professional, you have to start with an assessment, right? It's just common sense. Once again, if you want to go to point B, right, the point B being your final destination, the stuff you want to achieve, you got to know what the point A is, right? You got to know what the starting point is, and how do you do it? Through an assessment. This is just how it is. So there's so many things that are wrong in the health system industry. When people go to a physiotherapist, right? They go and they complain about knee pain. They explain the symptoms, right? And then the doctor says, okay, the therapist says, okay, you have these symptoms, so you have X, runner's knee or
Right.
whatever label they have, but they don't even take you through an assessment. So what they are doing is basically connecting a symptom with a disease or a problem.
Right.
And I don't know if you read that book. What's his name? Yuval Harari or whatever.
Yeah.
All of them.
24, 21 lesson for the 21st century.
Yeah, I'm reading
Right.
that one right now. It's crazy.
Okay, so that's dope. So he actually he speaks about that now, and that was funny because it just clicked with me right away. He speaks about the fact that certain jobs, careers are going to disappear in the future
Yep.
because of AI, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
artificial intelligence is going to take over,
Right.
and so he speaks about drivers, right? Because obviously AI is going to make less mistakes than drivers.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I'm like, well, it makes total sense. Then he speaks about doctors, and he says doctors
Right.
are going to disappear as well.
I
And
read
you're
that
like,
part.
why are they going to disappear? They spent 10 years in school studying, and it makes no sense to me. And then when you break it down, you understand that yes, it's any computer, any AI could make their job in a better way. Okay, because
Yep.
what they're doing is very simple when you look at it from the surface, right? You come in with your symptoms, pain, whatever it is. They connect it to a disease, to a problem, then they connect that to a pill, medication, or treatment. And any computer in the world could calculate that 10 times faster than any human being on earth,
Yep.
right?
And probably be more accurate.
And more accurate, right? And you could probably you would pay less for that, right? So when you think about it, it's like, wow, there's a problem in the industry because they are not treating the individual, right?
Right.
And when he said that in the book, I was like, oh, this is the real problem in the industry.
Right.
We only
Yes.
using protocols, and we are not treating individuals,
Yes.
right? And yeah, so that's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, we're organisms. We're
fucked
not.
up.
We're not vehicles. We're organisms, right? And so AI is going to take away the jobs that deal with non-organic stuff first, and that's also what these stupid fucking people in parts of America don't get, and that they should be demanding better education so that they can step into the technological era and not remain in the freaking industrial, like I've got to manually do some shit space. It should be demanding better education because we are in technological era. You should be learning to code. You should be learning to do computer shit because that's where everything is going to be, right? So you can automate. It started with the auto industry, right? You see that shit coming. You can hold on all you want to your old ideas of like how you put together a car, how you do this sort of shit. But understand this, like a machine, they just put that shit on assembly line. I need part A to go into part B and just boom, 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 boom. And they just crank these cars out. And the cars are exactly the same. Human beings are not exactly the same in no way, shape, or form. You grew up differently. You lived your life differently. When you were spit, even when you were inside your womb, it was a different environment than the next person environment, right? Like depending on how your mother like operated, it was a different environment that you like became a human in. And then your birth, like how you were birthed, whether you went, natural birth or whether you were just pulled out, cesarean, that changes things as well. Like all these things are different factors from the moment we are like conceived, So we are not, as much as people are like, oh, human A and human B, like, if you're the weigh this much, if you're this tall, then, your BMI is this. So that means you have this. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah, that's the problem. Blanket statements. This is what we like to use in the fitness industry.
And I think that's like just intellectually lazy, right? Because there's such a sort of there's so much variability amongst all of us, and you have to truly treat each human, because I'm not a computer, so like I've got things that I've got to run through my head, and I've got pieces of information I got to put together from different schools of thought, and then I need to consider exactly like where you're coming from psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically, and then I have to put all that shit together, right? So when you just blanket like, oh yeah, you should just do this for somebody, that's like the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Like, oh, you got this, let's just do that. And another thing is this, like I'm using knee pain example, so and you can extrapolate this thought process out to anything. It's like you come in and I report this to you. One, like somebody might not necessarily be in touch with their body or even know what language to use. And the way that I describe my pain to you is the way that I experience it. That doesn't mean that you're going to understand it the way I experience it because I use the words in the way that I talk and the way I communicate. So we need to have this thing, like you said, where we can remove biases, right? And if I don't know of a way to do that when you have a lot of other shit involved to consider. If we're looking at one thing, it makes sense to me to look at the one thing and look at it for that, because we already have enough shit to deal with, right? Somebody comes to me and says they have knee pain. Like, one, I don't know what their history is, and we know like pain is a complicated thing. Like, it might not be anything wrong with your fucking knee. It might be something wrong with your fucking rib, So like we need to know these things and we need to treat it accordingly. But what the things that we can do is, this joint needs to be here to do this. Does it do that? If it doesn't do that, okay, we'll do that. Or this joint hurts. You say this joint hurts. What does this joint do well? What doesn't it do well? Let's make it do the thing well that it doesn't do well, and then we can see that. And to me, that's more empirical than like, oh, this is what you're reporting. Go do this thing.
No, and at the end of the day, that's the only thing we can do, right?
Right.
The only thing we can do. The your nervous system is going to figure out the rest. So we can only make shit work nice, and that's it. And yo, dude, I mean, lately I've been training a lot of high level athletes, and I've been dealing with a bunch of shit. Like, every time I have to talk to the medical staff, to the other strength and conditioning coaches, and even when I have to work with the athletes, think of it. I'm the only guy out here. I don't know how you guys deal with this situation, but we say A and they say B. And I'm like, oh God, no, it's Z, because it's the total opposite, right? Fuck. So, dog, for me, it's just like I've been struggling with that, and to be honest, I'm a little tired of it. So I'm just happy if we can spread that message and people, so that people can understand a little bit where we're coming from, because, dude, it's a problem.
It feels like you yelling into a fucking tornado or a hurricane. Right? That's what it feels like.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
yo, that's crazy.
The professional athlete thing is a whole other massive problem. And I think what's good is like we're finally getting some people at the lower level, because you need people to catch these guys at the lowest possible level, the high school level, middle school, high school levels, before they start moving up through these ranks, so that they understand their body a little bit better. Because I think what people don't understand about professional athletes, people think that, oh, professional athletes, they are the cream of the crop. They should have, they have X amount of mobility. It's like, man, those dudes are literally, they're such an elite level player at the thing that they do. Like, they do the skills so well that it masks their actual inabilities or inefficiencies. And you could even make an argument that if you clear up some things in their actual like body, that you actually might might actually like screw up the way they operate, right? Like, I remember, like, what was it? Steph Curry was like, they were like, oh, he just got glasses, because we found out, like, all this time he'd been like playing, he'd been like killing it, but he has his vision is not like exactly right. So he started wearing contacts, and like initially, like, you could see his drop off in his shot, like after wearing those contacts, and you're like, well, maybe we should have just kept him like without the contacts.
That's funny.
But I mean, it's
No.
things like that. But I think these athletes, man, like, you've got these coaches that just put them through the grinder, man. They're just like, yo, we just got to get this dude back on the field, telling them stupid stuff like, you know, like, you shouldn't lift weights. We should do more functional exercises and things like that. And I'm just like, what are these dudes doing? Like, what is functional? Strength is functional.
Okay, so the clinic we currently working at, they have a program where it's like designed to sort of outreach to some people that might not normally get PT or like real training, and they're dealing with they're working now currently with a high school athlete who'd been dealing with a specific issue for like over 2 years, and the feedback that he was getting from strength and conditioning staff and coaches was just simply like, suck it up and push through, like you're not working hard enough type thing. But he had a legit like issue in that area. So now, like, had this program not been in place, he is an individual who would not have got PT. He's at the high school level, like the people that Rich are talking about. So I think, like, if these types of things continue to happen, like you say, spread the word, spread the message, and like there's other ways for us to do that, right? I know we talked previously, Rich and I and Moses, like how we try to spread out our services to people who might not be able to pay for it. So like it's that this relaying of information is also, it's just part of us all trying to take this same action of like, we want more people to know about it because we want more people to feel better. We want people to be able to seek fulfillment in their life. We want you to feel good in your body. It's the only one you ever get. So like when we say shit, it's not because I'm hating on somebody, because if I was hating on somebody, it entails that I'm jealous of that other practitioner for a specific reason. I have no fucking reason to be fucking jealous of somebody who has to lie to people to get business. Like people, like you say, people come and pay me good fucking money because the service we provide, like, they get a higher return on investment than what they're giving out. And like you said, when we spread the message, more people are gonna start to look at things differently. People are gonna approach training differently, and they're gonna start to see the value in actually taking an unbiased thought process and approach to giving your body what it needs. And I think that sort of spreads out to the rest of your life as well. Like, very much so. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you mean by culture?
Like the culture of specific sports, like certain sports, like that whole suck it up attitude. I mean, I played football growing up, I was fortunate not to have any catastrophic injuries, but I know some of my teammates, would have knee swelling and like literally would go get it drained and come right back out to, play the next weekend. And it's like, are they cleared to do this? Like, and this stuff was happening, this is the 90s. Like, I don't think that was legit, but I'm sure that stuff still happens to this day, and I think it's really like deeply ingrained into the culture of like, you should just push through it. Like, no
pain, no gain.
Right. And then addressing it, it's being halfway addressed, like it's always like surgery is the option because surgery is the quick fix, right? But in essence, unless it's something like catastrophic that happened to the person where they just tore a bunch of shit, you know, um, we should be able to like address limitations, and we should take these off seasons to like actually build bodies,
Mhm.
and build them better.
Nice, right. I totally agree with you. And you mentioned something earlier saying that for most people, athletes represent the highest symbol of health, right? They think the athletes are super healthy,
Right.
and people that say that have never worked with professional athletes. I can tell you that. And also, when people try to confirm their biases by showing an athlete displaying what they the message they share, I'm like,
Right.
okay, you've never worked with a professional athlete. It just doesn't work that way. Athletes are literally the biggest compensators. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's a word, but
Yeah.
It is.
yeah, they're really good at compensating. This is what they do. And they are very strong, and they obviously have the genetics and they work hard, but they can't push through. Most
Yeah.
people can't, right? They push through pain. They keep
Yes.
going. They keep going. And most people can't handle that. So
Right.
do not try to replicate what they do. And I would say that athletes are really good at executing stuff, right?
Hmm.
They don't really know why they're doing what they're doing, right? They are asked to do something and they do it. So if you ask them to go to run, balls to the wall, they fucking do it. All
Right.
right. They don't question themselves. So when you see someone doing an exercise on Instagram, do not try to replicate it just because, he's an athlete, a well-known athlete. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, I
Okay.
hate those. I hate
Fuck,
those
real
Oh
athletes.
shit.
God.
Athletes turn trainers. Oh my
Oh
God. Those
no.
those
Fuck.
those clowns out there that suddenly are like, I'm a
Yeah.
elite level trainer because I was a high level athlete and because I had these connections. Now I got all these athletes on my squad that I present to you, and I'm like, yo, like
You see me shaking my head now
what
here in
a,
Switzerland. I hope it's waving all the way to the States.
all
Fuck.
the way to LA, Miami, and
All
all
the
them.
way.
Wow.
Exactly.
All them
Exactly.
spots.
Nah, that's crazy, but I think now athletes are starting to realize a little bit that they have to focus on their health. And another thing that we have to take into account with those high level athletes is that it's a business, right?
Yeah.
Everything is business.
Yep.
So I was dealing during this off season. I was working with an athlete, a soccer player, football for the rest of the world, and and he had a knee surgery. So they had him run, do dynamic stuff 1-2 weeks after surgery. And when he told me that, I was just shaking my head because his knee was swollen all the time. I was like, obviously you don't have you can't do this stuff right now, right? It makes no sense. So he came to me because I worked with another of his teammates, and so I started working with him, and we did some basic stuff, right? So rotations, we focused on building his knee capacity. We started where we you should start, right? So
Right.
first things first. And so then he went back to Germany, and then the medical staff called me. It's like, what did you do? Right? What did you do? Isn't this working, etc.? I was like, listen, I think that what you guys were doing was wrong, right? At least from my thought process, I think that's not how I would approach it, right? Because I don't want to sound arrogant. And says, okay, so we have a deal, that we made a deal, and basically he had 3 weeks. He was supposed to stay in Germany, but since he wanted to work with me and he had results, is okay. We make a deal. He can come to Geneva for 3 weeks, but he has to work with you. I'm like, okay, no problem. He's very committed athlete. So I'm like, okay. So we worked on his knee, and when we started working together, they called me. The club called me. It's like, hey, Kev, listen, that'll be great if he could run again and play at the end of the month. And I'm like, I don't fucking decide that, right? So
Right.
adaptation takes time. Okay, how long is it gonna take? Oh, I don't fucking know. And
As
and
long
this is
as it
why it
takes.
gets as long as it takes. That's what I'm saying. So we don't get to choose that. So this is why I get upset when people are trying to promote stuff saying, "Oh, just do it and you're going to achieve this
4 weeks.
X, Y, Z, yeah, in 4 weeks or X amount of time." Because we don't fucking know. And people that promote this message just don't understand adaptation. And we don't know. And I always say that to my athletes or the people I work with, uh, I don't know how long it's going to take, and we don't know what optimal is, right? You don't even know
Right.
exactly what the optimal volume is. You don't know.
Right.
So you got to try. There's a little bit of trial and error at this point. So we try, but
Yeah.
I'm always going to shoot for the minimal effective dose, and then we see.
Yeah.
Okay, we take it from there. Okay, the next day, how did you feel? Okay, cool. Okay, we can add a little bit more, and that's kind of how it works. But I can't tell you, okay, this guy is going to be running in 3 weeks. So this is why I don't like to work with the the clubs and those
Gotcha.
those teams.
and people.
Yeah, I work with the athlete directly because I don't like all this political shit, all this business behind. And I say to the athletes, as soon as I start working with them, because they have high expectations too. I mean, think about it. This guy's having knee surgery. 6 weeks later, right? They back on the field, pitch, or court, whatever. Think about it.
Yeah.
And then people say, yeah, 6 weeks, right? But for normal people, it takes a year, 6 months, or whatever it takes. But it takes a long time. And then people, oh, because he had good surgeons or whatever. I don't fucking care if he had fucking Einstein or whatever. It takes the time it takes. And this is why these guys are fucked up for the rest of their lives, right?
And that's the thing
Yeah,
that
that's
people
fucked up.
that's the thing that people don't put into context.
Yeah, I got
Like-
to keep going. I got pissed like a mother.
This one. What do you mean keep going? We got an empty fucking chair. You act like motherfuckers don't see the goddamn podcast.
Let's keep it real. I like that.
Oh,
It's
we
very
on
organic.
we on YouTube. This motherfucker is just like
You can't hold it. You can't hold it in, you know. But keep going. Keep going.
keep going without me. Well, we gonna talk without him. Anyway, this is what people don't understand about like when they look at athletes, their favorite athletes. Like once they stop playing on the court, like they're cannon fodder. I think something you said was interesting about you tell them to sprint balls to walls or do this, do that, and they do it, right? To me, that sounds very similar, and I think that's why like the NFL has so much like connection to like military style stuff. You know, you talk about like these different terms that they utilize within the NFL or within football in general tends to be very like militaristic in the style, right? But these athletes, as soon as they're done playing the sport, they fade off into like obscurity, right? You don't know what they're doing now. You don't know how they're feeling now. You don't know what their body's like now.
Exactly. It's business. They don't care about you.
Your commodity.
So if we model our fitness after this sort of thing, then we're doing it wrong, right? Because fitness and health is about longevity. Hold on, I'm getting an echo. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, but that's right. Longevity should be the main goal. At least for general population, right? If you're not a
Yeah.
high level athlete, why would you do the stuff they do?
Right.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't. And like just look at an athlete who's played their whole career and look how they are, right? And I remember this because my boy works closely with the Oakland Raiders, and I've like been in all these cool events with them and shit. And then you'll see the retired players, like the way they move, the way they have to get up and sit down, and like literally, like how they're touching themselves, and like all throughout the day. And it's like if I just sat there with like 2 or 3 of the players, I could be there all day, like, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do that. You know what I mean? But they've sort of accepted it as like what their life is gonna be now, and like they're just okay with that. Like that's the cost, and I'm just gonna accept it. And you know it takes away from their quality of life. You know it takes away from it limits their physical freedom. It's just fucked up.
Yo, I finally figured out what's wrong. Why I'm getting an echo. Oh, there it goes. It's coming through. I think it's coming through your headpiece.
Mine?
Yeah.
So what do I need to do?
You need to get a mic a headset that plugs into your goddamn mic, like I told you the last goddamn time.
Look at us, bro.
Yes.
I got one. Hold on. You want me to get it? I tried it last time. You told me to use this one.
At this point, we like an hour in.
This motherfucker here, bro. I'm using, like last time I had it, you was like, no, you can use that one. What the fuck, man? Make up your goddamn mind. Shit. Fuck, I'm supposed to know. You run this shit. I'm not good with the technology shit. You know this, man. Fuck. This motherfucker blaming me, bro. I used what you told me to use, motherfucker.
Damn.
Mad at me about that shit.
He ain't using what I told him to use. I told him to use a plug-in headset.
Last time, never mind.
Last time you didn't have your headset.
No, last time I did. Remember, I had the little one. Anyways, let's go, man. This motherfucker here.
Anyway, I only had one question from the audience. I'm not gonna tell you who it was, but that one question was like, "Can you say some shit in French?"
Some shit in French. Right?
That was literally I posted. So look, when I posted the thing on Instagram, and I was like, "Yo, ask Kev anything you want. You can ask him anything you want. We're gonna do a podcast with him this weekend." The only response I got back was from one person that was like, "Can you ask him to say some things in French?"
Yeah, it's
Was
funny
it a woman?
Was it? Yeah, it was, right? It was.
It was.
It was. Obviously, it was. I know in the States it works. I don't know why, because I don't think the French accent is attractive, but apparently they love it in the States. So why should I say? Why should I say? You tell me. I just translate.
Say fuck all clowns.
Yeah, I was gonna say with clowns. Okay. No, because it's way. Because we would say the same thing. Fuck old clowns. Fuck tous les clowns. So we say like this.
How you say do your cars every day?
Yeah. I can say controlled articular rotations though. Okay. Faites vos rotations articulaires contrôlées tous les jours.
Ooh, that shit sounded smooth.
Could have told you. See, you could have. Man, this dude got a leg up on everybody.
Yeah, man, that shit ain't fair, bro. This shit is not fair.
It's not fair at all, bro. That could have been like he literally could have like said that to any woman out there, and just been like, "Yeah, I said, your eyelashes look like
Exactly.
the waves glistening in the sunlight," and I'd have been like, "Yeah, that's believable."
I know. Yo, I used to do that in the States when I lived in the States. They would ask me to, translate stuff. Dude, that was funny, but I'm not gonna say anything on this podcast.
That
It's
shit
being
top
recorded.
secret.
Did you get any questions, Nat?
I did not. Well, I didn't get to share it, so yeah, I wasn't tagged in it, so
You could have made your own shit up.
okay. Well, I got questions for him then.
Oh, what's your question?
So we sort of touched on it, but what's your background like? Or where's your family from? Like, if somebody says, "What's your ethnicity?"
Oh, my background. My mother's Afro-Brazilian. My father's from Portugal, and I was born and raised in Switzerland.
Got it. If you had one thing that you wanted everybody to take away from this podcast, what is it?
Besides fuck clowns, yeah.
I love it.
I would say. What would I say? We touched on so many things. I would say just be consistent and don't just listen to the upgrade guys in KSwiss fit. That's it.
I got like 2 or 3 more. Okay. If money didn't matter, what would your job be?
Same job.
Good. What was if you had to choose a last meal, what would your last meal be?
Oh oh God, this is a tough one, dog. Hold on, because I'm a foodie. My last meal. Okay. It would be either an West African dish,
Okay.
or so
Which
Teboujen.
one?
Teboujen. I would say Teboujen. I love it. It's Senegalese dish, or or pizza. I love fucking pizza, man.
Pizza. That shit threw me for a loop. I didn't expect that one, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Don't ask me. I just love it.
What else you got, Rich?
You said you had one more?
Yeah, no, I got one more, but I'm saving it.
Oh, oh man. If you could like go one place in the world right now, where would it be?
Um, right now, this is a tough one as well. I would love to go back to New York, to be honest with you, but yeah, because of this situation, it's obviously not the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love New York, and I would love to go back.
My last one.
Hold on. One place you've never been that you'd like to go.
Yeah, I would like to go to Rio de Janeiro.
Mhm.
Yeah, people say that it's the best city in the world. I've never been there. I have a Brazilian background, and I would like to check it out.
You speak Portuguese as well, or no?
I speak Portuguese. I speak Spanish. I speak French, English,
Asshole.
German.
Asshole.
This motherfucker here, bro. I'm sick of this shit. We got
18 languages. I speak 18 languages.
And he's got some really good fucking cars. God damn, bro. What the fuck, man?
We try.
I can do this. I can do the splits. I'm
Okay,
like
okay.
6'1", 6'2". What are you like? 6'2"?
6'3", 6'3".
Oh shit.
I'm 6'3". I can do the splits. He's off the market, ladies.
Yeah.
I speak 18 languages. I'm a massage therapist. I'm a manual therapist and coach.
Yo, bro, what the fuck you don't do, man?
Like what?
Do that again,
What the fuck don't you do, man?
dude. There's a lot of things that I don't know. I'm still willing to get better.
And he's humble, bro. And he's humble. Shit, fuck.
I appreciate it, guys.
Okay. So the most important, like the one is, I say like the most important lesson that you've ever learned, or like the one thing that is, that sort of affects the way that you perceive the world or interact with the world. Like that's the most important piece of information you've ever learned.
So how? Oh, okay.
Or I can phrase it this way. Let's say you had a kid and you could only pass one lesson to him. What would it be?
I would say it's okay to be wrong, or accept the fact that it's okay to be wrong, and embrace it. Because when you're wrong, that's when you accept the fact that you're wrong, it opens a new opportunity for you to learn something. So I think that's something that changed me a lot, because I was very stubborn, and I always thought that I was right by everything, and just accepting the fact that sometimes I was wrong, it just allowed me to, you know, have this 3D vision, see more things, see the big picture, and just understand how people think. So I think that's the stuff that changed me the most, I would say.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's dope. Well, man, thank you for coming on, man. We really appreciate your time, and we hope everybody that listens gets something out of this, um, other than fuck all clowns. But that's the most important thing. Um, where can people find you at? Because I know
Thanks again for having
you got a
me.
YouTube channel too, right?
I got a YouTube channel in French only for now, because it's just too much work to translate everything. So I was doing it in English before and translating into French, but now it's just too much work. So the YouTube channel is in French. You can find me on Instagram at KSwiss_fit, and that's basically it. That's it.
Nice. Oh well.
Anything else you want people to know about in terms of like what you're doing for business or anything out there?
So in Switzerland, if you're in Switzerland, if you're in Geneva, just hit me up. I'll be happy to link up, connect, and share a few things with you. And I'm opening up a juice bar. This is official now. Nobody knows, by the way, but by the time we share this podcast, I think it should be up and running. So that's it. On to the next one. So let's see.
My
Let's see
man.
what the future holds. You know.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we
Appreciate
All
you.
appreciate
right.
the fuck out of
I
you.
appreciate you guys too. Thank you again for what you're doing, and I recommend your stuff to all my people. So just keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you everybody for watching. Remember, you can find us at theupgradeguys.com where we have membership. You can get access to classes. We've got tons of classes there for just $30 a month at the moment. That price goes up September 1st. So get in there now. We've got a HIPS program coming out soon. We're going to be collaborating with KSwiss on some stuff here soon as well for the Upgrade Guys. He doesn't know about it, but we're just announcing it to him right now.
Gang.
And you can find us at the Upgrade Guys on everywhere, pretty much YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you may be. Peace out.
Upgrade your shit.